that this class is going to be a restorative yoga class, and restorative yoga is different than usual mindful yoga. The intention is to rest and restore and to honor rest. And for most of us, rest is unfamiliar, and we sometimes think rest is complacent or lazy, and yet rest is important and productive. And the yogis from long ago understood that. And so they developed practices that focus on honoring rest and resting consciously and purposefully to help you refill, reset, and restore. Thus the name restorative yoga. And so I offer these classes about once a month with the intention of helping you build a practice. And I also like to invite people to realize that you don't have to do a whole practice. You can find the one pose that works for you and do that practice at night for 5 minutes. And that can make a huge difference. That's something that I work on with people at retreats to help them figure out what's their pose that really works for their own nervous system. And so as we're moving through class today, pay attention to the pose that works for you. The pose that really is the one where you can drop in and allow your nervous system to rest and restore with the most ease. And so as you are lying there, you'll be lying on your mat with a bolster or a block or a couch cushion under your hips, lifting your hips up. You will notice your hip flexors release and soften. We carry a lot of tension in the hip flexors. And so drawing your attention to the hip flexors, send your breath into the hip flexors and invite them to soften and release. And also notice the blood flow returning back towards your head, towards your arms, toward your heart. Literally refilling physiologically. And notice your breath. Notice your chest rise and fall with each inhale and exhale. And if it feels good, close your eyes and just enjoy how it feels. Notice perhaps your nervous system beginning to unwind. Restorative and yin yoga are also nervous system practices. And noticing that all of it works together. Nothing's in isolation. Your hips may be up on a bolster, but you're releasing the hips. You're softening your nervous system. You're sending the breath to every nook and cranny. Breathing long and slow. No hurry here. Readjust your arms if you need to. And notice your sacrum on the bolster or the block. Notice how firmly it's held. And try extending right leg. Notice how it feels. If it pinches in your back, don't do this. But it can create a beautiful release in the front of the right hip, all the way up to the psoas. Your right foot is engaged about 5%, not just flopping. And sending that breath into the front of the right side body here. Breathing in and out. We'll take 3 more breaths with right leg extended, left knee bent. And raise your left knee towards you, hugging it in towards you. Hand can be on your shin or the back of the thigh. And notice what shifts in the right front hip. Breathing in and breathing out.
5 breaths here with the knee bent, inviting the right hip to soften, to melt. Close your eyes if it feels good, shutting out all of the external input. If you want to wiggle your left toe or ankle, you can. Lower left foot to the floor, knee bent still. Bend your right knee, bringing your feet back alongside into the restorative bridge where you began, and just notice the difference between the two sides. And stretch left leg long, engaged about 5%, so it's not just flopping. And send the breath into the psoas and into the hip flexors. And you can bring your arms back overhead if that felt good. Coming back to the breath. Use the breath to release just softly, letting go. The invitation is to just not hold tight, to rest and relax. And if it would feel good, bring your right knee in towards your chest, hand behind your thigh, and notice the left front hip, what shifts. You can roll the right ankle if that feels good, either direction. With intention, allow your nervous system to melt. Part of restorative yoga is creating that amazing neurochemical soup that feels good. Envisioning the oxytocin circulating around, little serotonin and dopamine thrown in. Let yourself enjoy them as you lie here, inviting yourself to feel good. Honoring your decision, perhaps, to practice yoga rather than do something else. Gifting yourself time and attention and care. Lower the right foot to the earth and pause. Bend left knee, left foot alongside the right, and just notice how you feel. Readjust your shoulders and your hips if you need to, so you have a nice stable base under your sacrum. And bend right knee, bringing your right foot up in the air. Bend the left knee alongside and raise both legs up towards the sky. We're going to come into, this is feet up the wall, but with no wall. And you'll leave your feet here up in the air. To begin with, point the toes and enjoy your shins. And flex your ankles. And we'll do that a few times, just awakening the legs a little bit. Roll the ankles in one direction and then the other. And come to stillness. And once again, decide where your arms feel best, perhaps overhead, perhaps in a T. You may need something different to feel stable here now. Come back to your breath. Notice the blood flow pouring back down into your heart, into your upper body. A literal reset. And this is a pose for those who take call or deliver babies or who are up at night or in the ER, can really be helpful in resetting your physiology. Or if on a day you just need a reset, feet up in the air or feet up the walls, really a beautiful way to do that. Envisioning the blood flow returning to your heart. enjoying it. And we'll be here 3 more breaths. So notice if you need any adjustments. Slowly bend left knee and lower left foot to the floor. Bend right knee and lower your right foot to the floor. Lift up your hips and slide out your block or bolster, whatever's under there. And draw your knees into your chest for a moment. Release the lower back. Have a little rock. Massage your sacrum. And lower feet to the floor. Bring knees together, feet apart to the outer edge of the mat. And your arms can come back to that cactus shape if it's still okay for your shoulders. Take in a big inhale. Exhale, drop knees to the right, coming into a twist. Press your left knee towards the front right corner of the mat. And enjoy that psoas and the hip flexor opening. If you have more room and it would feel good, gaze to the left. And allow yourself to settle in here for a couple of breaths, 5 breaths here. Enjoying the slight wriggling out of your middle. Bring your gaze back to center. Bring knees back to center. Reorganize your hips here. And when you're ready, take a big inhale. Exhale, knees drop to left side. Right knee stretches towards the front left corner of the mat. And if you have room, gaze to the right. If that right hip feels tight, send the breath directly there, inviting it to soften. And letting your nervous system soften, letting go of any of that hypervigilance or tightness or need to take care of things. For right now, nothing else needs to be taken care of. Bring gaze back to center and knees back to center. Reorganize your hips once again. And you'll bring your hands by your sides, giving your shoulders a break. Drop your right knee to the floor. Slide that right foot between the left heel and rear end and enjoy a release in the front of the right leg. Press the right knee towards the floor. So the right leg is threading through the triangle of the left. Breathing into that right side. Relax shoulders, relax everything. And notice what's gripping still, perhaps toes, fingers, shoulders. Send the breath to anything that's holding tight, inviting it to soften. Part of the work in restorative yoga is to notice without judgment and just invite. When this side feels complete, you can untangle and thread left foot between the right triangle, lower left knee to the floor, and lower it enough that you notice something releasing. Some of you will notice a lot more than others. It's a bit of a different stretch than we usually enjoy. And practice noticing again. Notice if your shoulders are bunchy or your scapula are tucked under, and soften. When that side feels complete, you'll untangle, bring your knees back together. And you can roll over to one side, and coming up to a seat, we'll come to hands and knees for a moment and enjoy a cat-cow. Reaching your sit bones towards the sky, crown of the head towards the sky. And just enjoy a couple of here, releasing your spine. And noticing what's tight, inviting it to move and let go. And when that feels complete, pause. And we're going to slide down onto our bellies into a Sphinx pose. In Sphinx, your elbows are directly under your shoulders, palms are on the floor, fingers spread wide, tops of the feet on the earth, and your heart is shining forward. Your lower back is getting a lot of attention. Send the breath there. We rarely stretch our back in this way. Don't overdo it, but breathe. Pour the breath down through your throat into your heart space, all the way down into your belly, pouring it into the lower back, envisioning it running down your legs to the tops of your feet. These long, deep, smooth breaths. Use the breaths as a way to restore and replete and nourish every cell. 2 more breaths, not overdoing it. And we'll press back to child's pose. Always undo a Sphinx with a child's pose. Knees apart, toes together. And reach your arms as long forward as you can, stretching them truly as long as they'll go. Enjoy the side body. Reach your hips towards your heels and lower forehead or third eye to the floor. If you want to do a supported child's pose, feel free to use that bolster underneath you. I personally love a minimalist child's pose. I really enjoy the third eye, forehead on the floor, and the stretch in the side body. Notice what parts of it you enjoy. Practice enjoying whatever is there to enjoy. Pour the breath in here to all the nooks and crannies that may have been ignored recently. Lower back, hips, pelvic region. Is there anything cranky that wants attention? If you need a bolster or blanket between your thighs and your hamstrings and your calves, feel free. And if it would feel good, walk hands to the left, bring right hand atop the left, and enjoy that right side body. Third eye, forehead still connected to the earth. Calming, hopefully, that monkey mind. Two more breaths on this side. Being aware of the breath, pouring it wherever it's needed. Walking hands to the right, coming back through middle, left hand to top right. Lengthen that whole left side body, every nook and cranny. Gift it the breath. Gift it length. Reaching. Feels good. Let it feel good. Let yourself enjoy it. Bathe yourself in those feel good neurochemicals. And let your nervous system practice unraveling, practice unwinding. Three more breaths on this side. Shimmy your hips a bit if you're getting kinks. Be kind. When this side feels complete, walking hands back to center. Lifting up to hands and knees. We're going to come back down to our belly. This time, create a pillow with your hands under your forehead. Bend your right knee, bringing your right heel towards your rear end. Reach your right hand around to the top of your foot. Press the heel towards you and enjoy the front of the right thigh. You can hold your foot in a way that feels good to you, not stressful. And enjoy the front of that right leg. Notice also the front body on the floor. We're rarely on our front body, enjoying all the sensations, enjoying your forehead on the hand pillow. And come back to the breath. Send the breath to the front of your right leg. You can envision the breath pouring in between all the little tight muscle fibers, softening, creating space. Last breath. If it would feel good, you can hug your heel a teensy bit closer to your rear end. Release your right foot. Bring your right hand out to the side. Bend your elbow a little more than 90 degrees, and you'll raise your elbow a smidge above shoulder height. We're going to roll onto the right side and open up the right chest. Most of us cannot go too far because we have a lot of tight chest muscles. So you have your right arm out to a T and then bend it and raise it up a little bit. You will adjust once you get into this. Unthread the left hand, plant it on the earth by underneath your right shoulder, and you basically roll onto the right side. Your left foot is going to lift up. You may be able to drop it behind, or it may just flop over, and you'll have a lovely stretch, but rather intense in the front of the right pecs. Do not overdo this. A little goes a long way. And just breathe into it. You'll be on the side, right side of your head. Don't overdo it. And you can play with the arm and notice what feels good and where you can get the stretch in your shoulder. Many of us have different shoulders, and so be kind to your shoulder here. As you adjust your hand, you may be able to roll over a little bit more onto the right side. And we'll come back to face the floor. Use the right hand for a pillow. Left hand gonna reach to the left foot, reach the left heel towards your rear end, and enjoy the front of that left thigh. Come back to the breath here. Send the breath into that right chest, into the left thigh. And notice front body on the floor, enjoying it. Use the breath. Take a moment here and notice your nervous system, how it feels already. Release the left foot. You'll bring your left arm out to the side, bend the elbow a little bit higher than 90 degrees, perhaps straight as a T for you. Notice what works. Right hand presses into the floor. Right foot is going to roll over behind you, and you'll have the stretch in the front of the left chest. Don't overdo it. Allow yourself to enjoy it. If you can't enjoy it, you're overdoing it. 3 breaths, knowing it's intense for most of us who type and have our hands in front of us all the time. It's a lot. Coming back to your belly, place your hands by your chest and under your shoulders, curling your toes, and press back to child's pose again for a moment. Knees can be together and extend legs long in front. It's a bit of a different stretch for the back. Your forehead likely won't reach the floor. It's more of a pill bug. And enjoy the lower back in this spot. Your armpits may notice this a little bit more. From here, I'm going to come into Pigeon, which for many people is their favorite pose, and for some people it's not at all. And so if this doesn't work for you, I'm going to show you figure 4 with a foot against the wall. But if you can do Pigeon, you'll come out of your child's pose, come to hands and knees. You'll draw your right knee towards your right hand. The right knee is going to come to the outer edge of the mat, and your left leg will straighten and slide long behind you. And you will come down onto forearms. You can make a pillow for your head. Some of you will want to use a big bolster to lie on. Do what feels good to you. There isn't a right answer here. And if this doesn't work for you, you can come into figure 4 on your back, right ankle over left knee, and you'll grab the back of the left thigh. If you have a wall handy, press your left foot against the wall and press your right elbow into your right knee, and that also feels similarly amazing. So sleeping pigeon, as we call the first pose, or supine figure 4, either one. And sleeping pigeon is also about release and softening. It's about letting go and letting yourself enjoy what feels good. As you're here, layers and layers let go. If you need to adjust, if your knee hurts, wiggle around, redo things, and then sink back in as long as it doesn't hurt. Perhaps literally sending the message that your hip can let go of whatever it's holding. 5 deep breaths. And I encourage you, if you ever have the chance to do pigeon more than once in a day, come back and do it again and notice what happens. I did yoga with my own teacher this morning, and she did a lot of pigeon. And I noticed the second time it feels completely different. Gift yourself that sometime and see what happens. As you're ready to come out, lift up onto your hands if you are in pigeon and slightly arch back. Reach the crown of your head towards the sky. Stretch the front of your left hip. And slowly untangle, coming back to hands and knees. One. And we'll switch to the other side. You may want to fold back into a child's pose or lift up into a downward dog to undo your hips. Do what feels good. You'll lower back down to your knees and switch sides, bringing left knee to the left corner of the mat. Extend your right leg long behind. And you'll fold down into sleeping pigeon. Let yourself enjoy it. Come here. Come here. Here you go. And let yourself enjoy sleeping pigeon. I also love the name. I have no idea how pigeons sleep, but can envision them stretched out. Notice the different layers softening. Envision sending the oxygen into each of the little muscle fibers, creating a little bit of space. And decide how you want to spend your last 5 breaths here. If you're readjusting, be kind. And dog is now doing sleeping pigeon. When you're ready, lifting up, arching back and enjoying the front of that right hip before we move on. And once again, untangle yourself with kindness, perhaps a child's pose, perhaps a downward dog. Notice what feels good. Ooh. Pedal your feet. And as you notice the backs of the legs, we're going to come down to sit and give our backs of our legs a little attention. You have a bolster, grab that. And we're going to sit with legs long in front, and you'll place the bolster over your legs. You may want to grab a second pillow or a block, and you'll slide forward, releasing upper back backs of the legs. Point your toes, just getting into the backs of the legs, wiggling the flesh of your seat out of the way, and melting forward. You can also place your hands as a pillow and soften in. Focus back on the breath. And as that energy shifts, you may notice a lot of intense energy. Breathe into it and soften it. If there's a lot of shaking, let go, release a little bit. Be kind. Kind and notice. Breathing in and breathing out. Long, smooth breaths. We'll be here 3 more breaths.
You can slowly lift up, slide your legs apart, and we're going to come into a wide angle forward fold. It's still a forward fold, slightly different. I like to place forearms on the bolster, legs out wide, and sit up a little higher and just hinge forward and soften. It should be relaxing.
You may bring your head all the way down. You may round and drop your neck. Notice what feels good. You'll just notice the different parts of your legs, different parts of your back, letting you know they're there. You may try pointing and flexing feet, ankles, rolling them around, and then return to stillness. See what your body thinks feels good and listen to it. Three more deep breaths here. Let yourself enjoy it. And any cranky spots, send the breath directly to the cranky spots. Invite them to soften. Slowly slide up the bolster or whatever you're leaning on, just letting the blood flow shift. Giving yourself a few moments before we transition back to our backs. And we'll come back to lie on the floor again. Bring your knees into your chest and repeat that rock. Massage the lower back. Come back to stillness. Keep right knee hugged in. Extend your left leg long. And notice, we've been here before, but with the bolster, notice how it feels. Breathe into it. Long, smooth breaths. Notice your nervous system again. How does it feel? Bring hands behind the right thigh, extend the right leg to the sky, flex the toes and ankle, and point your toe. Do that 3 times. Just enjoy the sensation slowly. Roll your ankle. And when you're done, bend your knee, extend your leg alongside the left. Pause and notice for a moment how you feel. Bend left knee in, give it a hug, and hang out there. Notice how it feels now. Before you raise your leg, notice how your nervous system feels. And with kindness, bring your hands to the back of your thigh, reach your leg to the ceiling, point and flex and roll the ankle. And notice how your nervous system feels completely different with the leg stretched. It's a beautiful reminder that we could change tiny things and feel very different. Rebend your knee, release your hands, and lower your left leg alongside the right. And pause and notice how you feel. Bend knees, bring your heels towards your rear end and press up into an easy bridge under your back. Release, lift hips to the sky, knees energetically connect. Untuck shoulders and roll down. Pick up your hips and drop them about 6 inches to the left side. Bend knees into your chest, drop your knees to the right. Coming into a twist, you can restack knees if you need to. And reach left arm out to the side or to a T, whatever feels good in that chest. This is once again a chest opener, which for many of us is quite tight. And a twist, allowing yourself to soften here and release. This one's a bit like Pigeon, lots of intensity and relaxation all at the same time. Can you let both of them exist? And with intention, send the breath into your nervous system, softening. Two more breaths on this side. You'll bring your knees back to center. Pick up hips and draw them about 6 inches to the right this time. Draw knees into chest. Allow the knees to fall to the left. Restack your hips if needed. Left hand can come to the right thigh, and right arm will reach out to a T or a cactus, whatever feels good for your shoulder. And it may be different on this side than it was on the other side. Breathe into it. Inviting your nervous system here to relax. 2 more breaths.
Releasing hands if they're holding your thighs, come back to center. Reorganize your sacrum. And you'll bring soles of the feet together, knees apart, coming into Supta Baddha Konasana. Left hand on heart, right hand on belly. And allow yourself to soften in here. You may want pillows or blocks under your knees, or you may not. Notice what feels better. And checking in, notice how you feel. Notice if anything feels different, even something that was bugging you before you started. Has your perspective shifted? Letting yourself enjoy this pose. It's one of the most restorative poses in yoga. We'll be here about 5 more breaths before we come into Shavasana. Inviting your hips once again to soften with intention. Gently bring your hands to the outer edges of your thighs and you'll draw your knees together. And you can come into Shavasana. If you have that bolster nearby, slide it under your knees here to give your back a little break. Grab a blanket if it's cold and dark where you are, or no blanket if you don't want it. And adjust yourself so that you can truly sink in. Notice what feels better, hand to heart and belly, hands by your side, hands in a T, palms open or plate facing the earth. And take a moment here to just scan your body. And notice if you need to invite anything to release or let go before you soften in. Taking a huge inhale. And a long, smooth, delicious exhale, letting things go. And allow yourself to soften in here, to completely relax, surrender, let go. When the thoughts float in, just let them float in and float out. And perhaps connect with the joy, the pleasure, what feels good. Or not. Notice what feels best to you. Gently begin to deepen your breath. Taking your time here. Perhaps wiggle fingers and toes. Letting the consciousness come back into your body. And notice. Notice how you feel. Have a stretch, a delicious one, letting your body guide you. What needs a stretch? What would like a stretch? What would feel good? Roll to one side if that would feel good, making your way up to a seat from wherever you are. And when you arrive, drop right back in. Closing eyes and noticing your sit bones on the earth. Notice your pelvis, notice your spine. Reach the crown of your head to the sky. And bring a hand to heart and another hand atop. Taking a moment to check in. Taking a moment to listen. To connect to yourself. To show yourself compassion for whatever might have been frustrating you, what you might have been carrying. Compassion for this human journey. Pressing that heel of the hand into the heart space, releasing a little more oxytocin, melting a little more cortisol, enjoying for another few moments here that delicious neurochemical soup that you've created. Letting yourself feel the pleasure, letting it seep into the cells so you remember what it feels like. So that next time you bring hands to heart, you can drop right in a little bit more easily. Notice the hand on heart pressing into your chest, the other hand on hand. Notice your chest rise and fall. And come back to the breath where we began, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Taking a moment to wish yourself well in the week ahead. To wish those you love well in the week ahead. To wish those you find it hard to love well in the week ahead. To wish those you care for well in the week ahead. And sending a wish to the world to also be well in the week ahead. Bringing hands together, rubbing them together, warming them up. Bring your thumbs to your sternum, fingers reaching towards the sky, elbows out wide. Thank you all so much for practicing with me this evening. May we all be well. May we all be loved. May we all be safe. And may we all be happy. The light in me reflects and honors the light in each and